Hey guys, so today I'm going to be talking about every episode of the Matt Smith era now that I've finished reviewing all 44 of them. So, honestly, I really like this era. It's one of my favorite eras in the show's history. Um, the Capaldi era and John Fulci's era are probably the most consistent for me. So, let's just get on started then. So we start off with a banger with the 11th Owl. This is the first episode to feature Matt Smith, Amy, and Roy. It sets up the season very well. It introduces the characters very well, and it has this classic timey-wimey plot that Moffat is known for. A very unique way to introduce a companion, where he meets her as a child, and then meets her like I don't know, 20 years later. I forgot how many years it was, and sees an adult, but it's only been like 5 minutes for him. So her being able to trust him like that after he abandoned her, though not that he meant to, made for great drama. I think performances from Karen Gillian and Matt Smith were fantastic in this one. Really got you to like the characters instantly. Matt Smith's epic speech against the giant eyeball instantly reassures us he's the doctor. He's changed his face, but he's still the same badass. Moving on to The Beast Below. This is Amy's first trip in the TARDIS, and I think it's a pretty solid episode. It's not one of my favorite Matt Smith episodes, but I still really enjoy it. So this is where England is in the colony in the future, and all the children are being kidnapped. Um, and there's this huge whale that's carrying the ship, and if you knew about it, if whenever people find out about it, they want to erase their memories because they realize they're torturing this whale. But then it turns out that they don't want to torture the whale. That the whale actually enjoys it, so it's a happy ending. Overall, pretty good episode. Like I said, not one of my favorites, so that's why it's getting a C. Moving on to the first dub of the era, and honestly one of the few dubs, first L's of the era, not only one of the few L's, is Victory of the Daleks. I hate this episode because it's basically just a ripoff of the Power of the Daleks from the Patrick Troughton era, except much worse. Um, I don't know who decided to make the Daleks rainbow themed, but that was a stupid decision. Makes them more like collectible action figures or Power Rangers than actual space Nazis. So I don't know why they decided to do that. The plot itself very uninspired. Having it in World War II, I think was a little too on the nose. Um, so yeah, pretty bad episode. If you want to see something with the similar plot, but much better executed, please watch The Power of the Doctor, even though it's animated. Moving on to, let's see what's next. We have Time of the Angels and Flesh and Stone. I'm gonna just do these two totals as one to save space here. So that's the two total. This is getting a B. I love this episode. This has River Song return to the series for the first time since her introduction with David Tennant. It's a very great story, very intense, and the angels are very scary here. I like when Amy's looking at the computer, but the angel starts to move and it gets stuck in her eye. Very emotional story because Amy actually thinks she's gonna die. Like she's been in life-threatening situations in the first three episodes, but this time it feels much more real. And I think the way that Karen Gillian and Matt Smith play against that is so good. And River Song is great as always. She has the humor, but she also has this sadness because she feels like her days with the doctor are running low. Because the meaning in reverse order. Uh, Moving on to the Vampires of Venice. This one's kind of lame. I don't know. I just feel like this plot it doesn't really have much going for it. I like the guest appearance by Helen McCrory, who, as you might know, is Aunt Polly from Peaky Blinders. I think she does a good job here, but overall, I don't know. It just seems kind of lame. Though I do like seeing Roy travel in the TARDIS for the first time. That's really fun to see. Moving on, we have Amy's Choice, which is another great episode. This features guest supporting guest by Toby Jones, who always plays the creepiest dudes, man, from Sherlock to Captain America to Raveled Pines. He's always the fucking creepiest guy imaginable. I guess besides Harry Potter. But yeah, it's a great episode. It's a bottle episode because most of the episode takes place in two locations. There's like old people village. I don't know if the old people are like vampires or zombies or whatever, and then within the TARDIS. And bottle episodes are pretty hit or miss, but I feel like Doctor Who's usually pretty good at that, and this episode is no exception. I like the scene where Amy decides, you know, we're gonna die in this world because Rory's dead, and if this is reality, she doesn't even want to live in it anymore because she can't live without Rory. That's really sweet because I feel like she spent the first 6 episodes treating him like shit. So I don't know. I thought that was a really sweet thing. Moving on to The Hungry Oath and Cold Blood. This features the return of the Silurians. It's written by Chris Chibnall. It's a much lesser version of the John Poultry episode, The Silurians. I feel like that episode is much better than this one, and this one steals a lot of shit from it. I think this easily could have been one part because it tends to lag on and on and on. Um, Definitely could have been a single part, but I do like the guest cast. I think the guest cast is really good. The lady's good. The other lady who plays the Siloin is good. The kid is good. I do like the ending where Roy vanishes from reality due to the big crack in time. It's a very sad scene, and the music is so good by Murray Gold. So, yeah, that's really sad, but not really that sad because he comes back like 3 episodes later. So, I don't know. Moving on to my favorite Matt Smith episode of all time, which is Vincent and the Doctor. This is where they meet Vincent van Gogh, and it's a beautiful portrayal of depression and loneliness. All the actors in this do a great job between Matt Smith, Karen Gillian, and the guy who plays Vincent van Gogh. His name is escaping me right now. But there's so many memorable moments, like the scene where he's talking about his depression, and when they're sitting in the grass and he sees how beautiful the night sky is, because having depression, not all days are bad, but the bad days are really bad, and I really like the way they execute that point. And of course, the final scene where he sees the art gallery in the future, it's so beautiful, and the fact that he still killed himself anyway is tragic, but at least they made his life a little bit better. I love the doctor's quote where he says, I forgot what he said. He said like the bad the bad things, the good things don't hamper the bad things, but the bad things don't spoil the good things. I love that line. Matt Smith does such good performance, and David Nye's cameo as the art director always brings me to tears. It's fantastic. Moving on to the Lodger, which is it's the one with that annoying late night guy, James. Oh, God, I hate that guy. What's his name? Let me look it up. I hate this guy. Everything he's in, I hate him. James Corden. Yeah, this says James Corden in it. But honestly, he's fine in this one. I like the plot. I like how bare bones it is. Like a lot of episodes of the season have been very intense, both emotionally and I guess action wise. This one, the Doctor's forced to just lay low for a while and live with James Corden, which, in my opinion, would be torture. But Craig is a good character. James Corden, I would not want to live with him. However, I still think it's a really good episode. Matt Smith gets to show off his soccer skills, and it's just all around a fun romp. Moving on to the two-part finale, which is the Pandora opens and the Big Bang. So this is a great finale. It's one of Doctor Who's best season finales because all the plot lines converge. Everybody has real epic moments here. Roy staying by Amy, the Doctor giving that epic speech to all the Daleks and Cybermens, and literally every monster the show's had. Um, and of course, Amy, big scene at her wedding. I remember you, and you are late for my wedding. There was the really sweet scene where the doctor says he speaks to a young Amy, and he gives that beautiful speech about how the world's a story is in the end, and to make it a good one. I love Matt Smith as the Doctor. He could do those funny moments. He could do those angry moments. He could do those energetic and sad moments. And he's such a great versatile doctor. And this finale shows him at all different sides of his doctor. So it's no surprise to me that he became such a iconic actor after he left the show too. Moving on to A Christmas Carol, which is tied for it's tied with Last Christmas as my favorite episode. I mean, favorite Christmas episode of the show. It's just so, I don't know. Part of it's nostalgia. Part of it's just the great performances and the great themes. Um, there's something so sad yet beautiful about this episode. He goes back in time to make this miserable man, played by Michael Gambon, his to make his life better and more fulfilling. Not only to save the ship who's about to crash, but also to help him too. And it's such a great episode. The tragedy of him falling in love with this girl, even though he only has a few days to live, and he has to decide when whole last day would be because he's stuck in cryogenic frozen. It's so tragic, but it's so sweet. The ending of the episode was he says, um, we've had so many Christmas Eves. Now it's time for Christmas Day. It's so good. Oh man, I love this episode so much. The ending is great. I rewatch this every single Christmas because it's just it gets me into the spirit. It's something Christmas always is, which is sad but sweet and sentimental. I really love it. Moving on to the two-part opener of season 6, which is the Impossible Astronaut in the Day of the Moon. So this is an amazing opener, as well as the 11th hour was. We see River back, Eamon Roy, the Doctor. The Doctor dies, which is a crazy way to start the season. Obviously, we know he's not going to die, but the whole thing is like, how is he going to get out of this? We have the silence. We have Richard Nixon. we, um, we also have that guy Charles something. I really liked him, and I was expecting him to come back later in the season, but he never does. So I think that would have been a good opportunity if he came back, but I feel like it's too late now. Maybe they could give him a spinoff. Who knows? Moving on to the Curse of the Black Spot. This one's kind of lame. I don't like this episode. I just feel like there's never really any sense of urgency to it, and it's not really fun either. Doctor Who has had a very bad run with pirates. The Space Pirates, awful. This episode, awful. The Sea Devil one with Jodie Whittaker, awful. So maybe Doctor Who needs to just stay away from pirates. Um, Moving on to The Doctor's Wife, which is another one of my favorite episodes with Matt Smith. This is where the TARDIS becomes human, and it's a very nice episode because it gets to show all the things he wanted to say to her and all the things he wanted to say to him. It's very beautiful, and it shows how long these two have been together and what a close bond they have. Nobody knows the Doctor like the TARDIS, and it's such a great episode. I also like all the aiming voice stuff. It's like a little trapped in the TARDIS and being haunted because it's like a horror movie. It's so great. I love all those creepy scenes in the TARDIS too. So this is a great episode. Moving on to the Rebel Flesh and the Almost People. I think this is a pretty good episode, but it suffers from the same problems that The Hungry Earth and Cold Blood did, is that it could have just been one total, because this one drags a lot. I love that twist at the end, though, where it turns out that Amy has been a flesh for, like, the past 4 episodes. That's crazy. I love that. Um, So that saved the episode for me, but for the most part, it's a very boring episode. I do like Matt Smith acting against himself. I think they both have very good chemistry, and the way to find a non-violent solution is always the Doctor Who way, right? Moving on to A Good Man Goes to Rule. So this is another fantastic episode. It's one of my favorite uh, Matt Smith ones. This is the one where they're trying to save Amy from the evil lady with the eye patch and all the silence and stuff. So they recruit Jenny, Strax, and Vastra, along with another bunch of people we don't really know that well and we'll never see again. But the action scenes are great. The Doctor scene is great. Emilia Pond, get your coat. Karen Gillian's, oh man, her performance in this is so tragic. The way when she loses her baby. Roy having his big epic moment in the Roman costume, saying, "Where the hell is my wife?" And of course, that final twist where we find out that River's song is Amy and Roy's daughter. It's has this very tragic ending because we know that Amy's never going to be able to raise the baby, but she turns out okay because he's Rivel. It's very bittersweet. Moving on to Let's Kill Hitler, which is a good episode, but I think too much happens in it at once. I think they could have made the Rebel Flesh a one portal and used that extra episode they had to make Let's Kill Hitler a two portal. I think that would have been much better. Because you have the Nazis, you have Hitler, you have River Song turning into, well, Melody Pond turning into Mouse, turning into River Song, and then she tries to kill the Doctor, and then she feels bad about it, so she gives up her generations. I just feel like there's way too much going on here, and they could have just split it into two episodes, and it would have been much better for it. That being said, I still enjoyed it. It's just not really one of my favorites. Moving on to Night Tales, this one's very forgettable. Um, I don't know. I feel like the guest cast, I didn't really care much about them, and the threats didn't really seem that threatening. It felt like the light kids show episode of the season. I feel like it would have worked better as an episode of the Sarah Jane Adventures, if we're being honest, because it doesn't really fit the tone of, especially this season, because the season's much darker. Yeah, you have this episode, which is kind of, well, it's kind of silly, if we're being honest. Moving on to The Girl Who Raided. This one is so tragic. This one's getting a B. Not because I didn't love it, just because, those are the other episodes I liked better. This has Amy kind of get split into two. So there's one version of Amy who is like doesn't age, and she's the Amy we know. And then there's another one who's aged like 20, 30 years. And it's just really sad because she feels abandoned by the Doctor again, which is her biggest fear. And she's come to face the feels. It's sad that she doesn't get to live with Roy and all these wasted years he had being hardened fighting those evil robots voiced by, I'm pretty sure, Helen Mirren. Those robots are creepy. Uh, I think this is Karen Gillan's best performance in the show. That and The Angels Take Manhattan, because she has such raw heartbreak. The way her voice is deeper, showing her age. She is fantastic in this episode. Um, the scene where Roy says, "I'm not mad because you grew old. I'm mad because we didn't grow old together," is heartbreaking, and it's so sad when she sacrifices herself to save the others so that Amy could have a better life. Man, it's a tragic episode, but I do love it. The performances from all actors are great. Moving on to the God Complex, which is another great episode. They're stuck in this creepy ass hotel like The Shining. Um, and all of them are being tortured by their greatest fears. And Amy's biggest fear is her being abandoned, hence her abandonment issues. And this comes full fledged when the Doctor tells her to let go of her faith in him. It's a beautiful scene. I love that song that plays the Marigold, like sad Amy music. And man, Matt Smith does such a great. He does such a great scene in that one, and him deciding he loves them too much to keep traveling with him, and he has to let them go. It's so sad. And honestly, this season should have been the last season to feature Amy and Roy, because them coming back in season 7 kind of undoes this point. But still, as it stands, it's a very good scene. Moving on to closing time. This is the second episode to feature the menace James Corden. It's still pretty good, though. It's just not as good as the Lodgel. I think the Cybermen here are kind of limpified, being defeated by the power of love, and James Corden's emotional ass is kind of a weak way to defeat a once very threatening villain. But I don't know. It's kind of lame. I also don't like the baby. There I said it. The baby's kind of annoying. Moving on to the Wedding of River Song, which is another very good episode, but like I said, with Let's Kill Hitler, I think it would have been better if it was a two portal instead of one portal. My advice would have been to get rid of the Curse of the Black Spot and replace it with a part 2 to Wedding of River Song, because there was so much going on here. I think the way they resolve the episode is very good, but everything's moving too fast. This was classic Who, and it was like a 4-part story or a 6-part story. I think it would have been great. If it was Modern Who, I think 2 hours or 3 hours would have been fine, but just being one part for the finale, I just feel like there's so much stuff they could have delved into more because it starts fast, continues fast, and it ends really fast. There's still a bunch of good moments though. Like I like when Amy kills like five of the silents with the gun. Seek forgets Roy for the second finale in a row, which is like poor Roy. Honestly, he was always being forgotten or killed. Moving on to the Doctor, the Riddle of the Wardrobe, which is the 2011 Christmas special. So I have mixed feelings about this because I feel like there's not much of a threat, and the threats that they're all get too they get defeated too easily, so you really can't take anything seriously. And the whole dad dying on Christmas but then not dying seems kind of a cop out. But I think the actors will do a good job, and the ending of the episode saves it for me when when she tells him to be with his family and he visits Amy and Roy, and it harkens back to an earlier line where sometimes tears could be happy, not just sad. So he cries tears of joy after being invited to have dinner with them. It's that saves the episode for me. I'm not a huge fan of this episode, but man, does that not bring a tear to my eye. Moving on to Asylum of the Daleks, which is the season 7 premiere of the show. And I know a lot of people don't like this episode, and to them I say, I don't care what you think. I think this is a great premiere. Not his best premiere, but still pretty good. This is where the Doctor, Amy, and Roy are kidnapped, and they're forced to go into the tomb of the Daleks or the asylum of the Daleks, which seems kind of strange because I feel like most of the Daleks would just kill the malfunctioning ones. They meet Oswin Osgood, played by Jenna Coleman, who most people are surprised to see because they're like, wait a minute, I thought she was not coming to the show until Christmas. So he set up the season plotline really well by introducing her on the premiere. And her dying is very tragic. Her turning into a Dalek and sacrificing herself, it's very sad. Jenna Coleman does a great performance right off the bat. She later becomes one of my favorite companions of the show. I think the way Amy and Roy's divorce and then reconciliation was handled was a bit strange because all of that happened off screen. So I'm guessing there was a time jump, but it also shows that Amy's still very emotionally unstable, and her, thinking Roy would be happier without her than with her is a little silly, but it also shows she has very low self-esteem, which fits in line with her character arc. So I give it a pass. Moving on to dinosaurs on a spaceship. This one's really boring. Like those As with most Chibnall episodes, he has this idea, but he never really develops it in any meaningful way. So what you see is what you get. Those dinosaurs on a spaceship. The characters run around hallways for 45 minutes. David Bradley shows up as an evil guy, and then they solve the problem very easily, and then that's the end. I do like meeting Roy's dad, so it begs the question, like, why haven't we seen him before? Why wasn't he at the wedding or anything? I feel like they explained that, but it just seems like he was added in at the last minute to give Roy some stuff to do. Moving on to A Town Called Mercy. This is also a pretty good episode, but again, not one of my favorites. Um, Running out of spaces in the C minus department. This is a cowboy themed episode, and fun fact, it was on the same set that they filmed For a Few Dollars More on, which is one of my favorite Western movies of all time. If you get a chance, check it out. So that's kind of cool. The whole ending of the episode kind of falls flat for me. It just, I don't know. I feel like the problem solved too easily, and the threat never really seems much like a threat. Though I do love his design, and the townspeople kind of get on my nerves after a while. But I do like seeing the doctor in a cowboy hat. That never gets old. Actually, no, it did get old in the Gunslingers, but this is much better than the Gunslingers. Moving on to the Power of Three. So this is a Chris Chibnall episode, which of course means that nothing happens and it gets resolved super easily. However, this makes up for it by the character development. I love having Kate Stewart be introduced. She later plays the character for like 5 Doctors in a row, and I know she's going to be in that spinoff next year, so that's cool. Um, but yeah, not much happens in this episode, but I do love the dynamics between Amy, Roy, and the Doctor. Them deciding whether or not to keep traveling with each other, and he has to spend a year with them doing nothing, as opposed to them going on all these wacky adventures with him. I think that's a nice twist. And it shows how traveling with a doctor could have an effect on their lives. Like, they age much faster than their friends do because they're all traveling all the time. And I like when Brian's like, you guys should keep traveling with him, just despite the risks. Unfortunately, they should not have listened to him because the next episode is The Angels Take Manhattan, which is a very sad episode. Man, it's a sad one, isn't it? So, this is also very scary and timey-wimey episode, which I love. Though I do think it's a little strange how the angel is able to become the Statue of Liberty and not one person in New York, which is the largest city in the United States, is able to see it. That's stupid. But besides that, I really enjoy the episode. Of the timey-wimey aspects of it, River Song is great as always. The ending is traumatizing, and it very concludes Amy's arc saying that, like, yeah, it reinforces it. She will always choose Roy over the Doctor, and I think that's really sweet. And at least they get to be together. And they both live into their 80s, which is pretty impressive. So it's sad, but you know, it could have been worse. They could have got the Katarina treatment or the Sarah Kingdom treatment, right? Moving on to the Snowmen. So this is another great episode. This is where we meet Victorian Clara, and I think she's very likable. I would not have been opposed if they added her, like had her be the main Clara instead of the 2010s Clara, but I like 2010s Clara, so it's not a big deal. This has the return of the Great Intelligence, voiced by Ian McKellen. So I think having Ian McKellen on your show and only having him do the voice seems like huge waste. Hopefully, Ian McKellen joins the show at some point in a larger role. This also has the guy playing the physical embodiment of them. He's really good as well. Vastra, Strax, and Jenny are great as they help the Doctor through his grief from losing Amy and Roy. The Doctor was extremely depressed, as most of us were, from the Angels of Manhattan. Um, but he's able to find a love for life again after meeting Clara Oswin. But then she dies from getting pushed off a cloud. But he realizes that she is the same woman from Asylum of the Daleks. So now he has to find the real Clara and solve the mystery of the season. So it's a very good episode, very tragic. I like the whole crying on Christmas thing because you don't expect Christmas to be a tragic day. Usually it's a happy day, or at least the sentimental day. Moving on to the Bells of St. John, which is the first time we meet actual Clara. I think this is a pretty good episode. I like the way they established Clara as kind of this free spirited, always wanted to go on adventures, but finds herself trapped in a way. She's different from Amy. I mean, she's very kind of a smartass, but clever and sweet. But she has a very different demeanor from Amy, which I like. I don't like when the companions are too similar to each other. And the Doctor and her get along very well, like instantly. I think that's great to have them have that chemistry. The uh, the Great Intelligence makes the return only one episode later, but I like that because he's like the season arc villain. And now he's controlling this lady who has this tech company, which is a very good idea to bring Great Intelligence into the tech world of the 2010s. He's the world has changed a lot since the 1960s, which is the last time we've seen him. So I don't know. I love the concept of the evil Wi-Fi, evil 5G. Um, I think it's neat and a nice contemporary episode of the show. It's also really sad when the lady you find out that she's been controlled by him since he was a child, and she's like, "Where's mommy and daddy?" That is so sad. That is so tragic. Moving on to the Rings of Akaton, who I have mixed feelings on because I don't like the plot that much. It just seems like I don't know. I like the setting, But the whole singing to appease the sun god thing, and then the sun god being defeated, with the power of love. I don't know. It just seems like a cop out. But I do love the way we see Claire's past. Tragedy of losing her mom, and how she always clings to the leaf, and her willing to give that up is very beautiful. As well as the Doctor's epic speech with the brilliant score by Molly Gold and the singing by that um, young girl. I think maybe she's like 10. I don't know, but that was a beautiful song. So that makes up for the episode itself being a little light on. I don't know, just the episode's kind of lame, but I do love the ending and the way they delve into Clara's backstory. Moving on to Cold War. So this one is a pretty good episode, I'd say. I'm not a huge fan of the Ice Royals besides the Coastal Peladon. For the most part, I find them very boring. However, this one is, I think this one's enjoyable. I like the whole Russian submarine aspect of it. It feels like something out of a James Bond movie or maybe Mission Impossible. I like the guest cast. They have not one, but two Game of Thrones actors, which is always nice to see. I mean, three if you count Matt Smith, because he was in House of the Dragon. But, you know, I feel like the whole idea of having an ice royal in the submarine is very cool, but they don't really, there's not much more than that, and it's lacking substance. But I like having Clara be scaled, like, the reality of things hits her for the first time. She's like, oh, God, my life, I'm terrified. I like how Clara is brave enough to admit that she's terrified, and it comes back to her in the full Face the Raven with Capaldi, where she says, I'm scared, and there's nothing I can do about it, but I just have to be brave. I love that theme of her. Moving on to Hyde. So this is a ghost story episode with a couple of like ghost hunters, and it turns out it's not a ghost; it's an alien from another planet. And I like the final twist at the end where he's finding his alien wife, and the Doctor's able to reunite them. The episode itself, it's okay, I guess. It's not one of my favorites. I like the whole like ghost story aspect of it though, but it does get old after a while, and it's not the most memorable episode. But I don't know. It's okay, I guess. Moving on to Journey to the Center of the TARDIS. Um, I'm just gonna put Journey for this one. You guys know what I mean. So this is the one where Clara and the Doctor and three guys we don't care about get trapped inside of the TARDIS. The guest cast is very lacking in this one, but I like the sense of urgency there is as the TARDIS kind of closes in on itself. I like episodes that are set within the TARDIS, but I think the Doctor's Wife was better executed. Well, Amy's Choice was better executed as well. It's the most terrified we've seen Claire on the Doctor, and I think the only time he's scared her, like he's very threatening and kind of harassing her, and it gets really scary. Because he's like, "Who are you? Who are you?" Which seems a little out of character, but it's an intense moment, and I think both actors do a great job. Moving on to the Crimson Hole. So this one is a Doctor Light episode. The Doctor and Clara don't really show up until like 15 or 20 minutes into it. Um, but it's still an enjoyable episode. I think Diana Rigg, she guest stars in this, and she is so creepy as Mrs. Whatever. Like she's such a creepy motherfucker, I swear. So I think she does the best performance. I also do love the Paternoster gang, Jenny, Strax, and Madame Vastra. They disappear after season 8. I don't know what happened to them, but I really hope they come back sometime because they're a comedic trio, but also they have a lot of heart, and I think they have a good chemistry with each other. So I feel like this is setting up a spinoff that never came. But you know what? It's never too late. They could make a spinoff, and I'll watch it. Though, given the uncertainty about the show itself's future, I don't think that's likely. Moving on to what is next here? Nightmare on Silver. This is another C minus. There's some moments I like here, but there's a lot of moments I don't like. I hate those two annoying kids, mostly the girl, Angie, I think. I hated her. Annoying kids just I cannot tolerate them. I couldn't tolerate them in Jurassic Park 2. I couldn't tolerate them now. Um, Also, he does his bitch and complain, which really drags the episode down for me. I do like that one guy, the guy from Star Wars. I forgot his name. The guy who's in love with Clara, the Emperor. He's cool. He added a lot of depth to the story. But overall, it was kind of lame. The best part of it, though, was Matt Smith's performance as the Doctor in a chess match against Cyber Doctor. Every time the Doctor was able to act against himself, it always goes for great television, especially Matt Smith's Doctor. Moving on to the finale, which is the name of the Doctor, which starts the final 3 episodes of Matt Smith's run. This is a great one. Fun fact, this is the first episode of the show I saw, so I was very confused because this relies a lot on the show's continuity. So I don't know what the fuck was going on here, but looking back at it now after being a huge diehard Doctor Who fan, I really enjoy it. It kind of brings the story full circle on who Clara is, brings back the Paternoster Gang, and it brings back the Great Intelligence. So all your major players from this are your river songs here, and the Echo from the Library and her and the Doctor get this heartfelt goodbye from the Doctor she knows the best, which is very sweet. When she says, "I didn't know you could see me," and he says, "I always see you." Oh man, Moffat's able to have those very tragic, poetic lines in his episodes, doesn't he? Um, so yeah, he'll coming in to save the Doctor was a cool scene. Uh, when we meet like all 11 of the Doctors, it's the stock footage. The CGI used was a little iffy, but given that it was 2013, I'm gonna let it slide. Um, but the whole plot twist at the end, where it turns out John Holt is a secret doctor between um, between 8 and 9 was crazy. Nobody saw that one coming, and having a legendary actor like John Holt and be the cliffhanger is great. Moving on to the Day of the Doctor. So this is the 50th anniversary of the series, and man, they pull out all the stops. You have the Zygons, you have the Daleks, you have David Tennant back, you have John Holt as this Doctor, you have Unit, you even have Tom Baker. But it isn't just a nostalgia fest. They tell a great episode within their own right, which I think puts it far ahead most of the other anniversary specials, in my opinion. Um, it's a very emotional episode because it shows who the Doctor is at his core. Of course, he would never defeat Gallifrey. There's always a way around it. And while most episodes I feel like would be a cop out, this one being so closely tied to the Doctor as a person is, I think it's beautiful. And the resolution of the episode where they have all the Doctors, all 12 of them, no, all 13, and we see Capaldi's eyebrows. Oh man, that was that was such a good moment. Uh, and of course the cameo by Tom Baker at the end, like you can't go wrong with that. Moving on to the Time of the Doctor, which is the last episode to feature Matt Smith, unless you count Deep Breath, but that doesn't really count. This one, I think the major problem with it is it feels a little rushed. Could have been 90 minutes instead of 60 minutes, but while the first half of the episode seems rushed, the second half is amazing as soon as he gets old, and his scenes with Clara are so bittersweet when she helps him bake the Christmas crackle, and her being abandoned by him twice, and he promises he'll never leave her again. It's so, it's so sweet. Uh, his last stand against the Daleks, giving those regenerations, like he thinks he's gonna die when he says this, and he's gonna give them a piece of his mind anyway. And the Time Lord's coming in at the last minute, actually doing something useful for once, and giving him more generations is pretty epic. And the way he defeats all the Dalek ships. Come on, get it! Oh man, one last epic speech for him against the enemies. He's known for that. And of course, his regeneration itself, very bittersweet. I love his speech about moving on. We're all different people all through our lives, but you have to remember who you used to be, and always remember when the Doctor was him. Is great, and him seeing Amy again, it's just so beautiful because she's been with him the longest, and then he goes. He explodes into he kind of sneezes into Peter Capaldi, beginning another great era of the show. So as you can see from my chart, I'm a huge fan of Matt Smith's era. I love his Doctor. I love his companions. I love his monsters. I love his episodes. One of the most consistently good stories of his entire run. As you can see, out of 44 episodes, there are only 3 I dislike. I think that's really, really good odds. So, yeah, let me know down in the comments what you guys thought of this era. Is he your favorite Doctor? Is he that's your favorite era? Please let me know, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace. This could be